Mike Logan, welcome back to the Digital Farm. New South Wales Dairy Connect was established about 18 months ago. Can you tell us what measure of success you've had in the past 12 months?
Well, the industry, as you know, was well disaggregated after the deregulation in 2000. So our objective has been to bring the industry back together as a united and sort of coherent group so that we can address some of the challenges. And that's been happening. It's been happening slowly and difficultly, but it's been happening. The vendors and the farmers and the processors are all slowly coming back together and working out that we do need to create a new future for dairy in New South Wales. So the first steps have been taken. They've been successful. They've been slow and difficult, but that's the leadership model that we've got to pursue, and these things don't happen overnight. But as they say on the television ad, it will happen.
So putting New South Wales then into a national context today, what's the kind of production and processing ratios? What are the formulas that are going on nationally? Who's doing what?
Well, in New South Wales, there's only about 12 or 13% of the national milk supply, and that has contracted remarkably since deregulation. So, Victoria is obviously the big supplier, and Tasmania is growing quite significantly, and that's quite interesting that Tasmania is growing. So, we've been looking at that and trying to understand what that is and what that means for New South Wales. New South Wales is fairly well now restricted to the fresh milk market, and that has its own challenges. We've got to supply milk into the fresh milk market 365 days of the year. So that means we've got nowhere to store surplus product. It can't go into powder or cheese or butter or any product that's got a longer shelf life. But it also means that we have to continue to supply milk out of season. So we're actually constrained to a fairly high cost pricing structure in a fairly high cost market, and that market's not paying the reward for those costs.
There's a lot in the media these days with various players trying to take out Warrnambool cheese and butter. What are the implications of this for the industry nationally?
The implications are quite wide. It's an opportunity. We see what's happening at Warrnambool as an indicator of what's happening around the world and where we need to be. There's really no direct ramifications about what's happening in Warrnambool, except that one of our processors is one of the bidders, Bega. So that's a good thing for Bega, and it's a good business strategy for Bega. But from a New South Wales industry perspective, it is showing that there is strong demand for manufactured milk product for export. So that's milk that isn't going into the fresh milk market, and we would call that in New South Wales surplus or seasonal milk. So there is suddenly a very strong and vibrant market for seasonal manufacturing milk to go into powder particularly, but also UHT, cheese, butter and so on. So we see that New South Wales now doesn't have much manufacturing. 87% of New South Wales milk is going into fresh milk, only 13% into manufacturing, and most of that's with Bega. So the rest of the state has an enormous gap, and that gap is actually an investment opportunity into manufacturing. So we've been trying to position the industry in New South Wales now as an investment opportunity for manufacturing of export dairy into these new and quickly growing Asian markets.
The Australian Farm Institute has sort of flagged its concern that Australia may miss out on the China boom in food. Do you think that's a realistic assessment or concern?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we either need to get coordinated and organised, like we're trying to do here at Dairy Connect, or, as the Farm Institute rightly says, these opportunities will pass us by. And we need to position ourselves. We are ready to grow. We are ready to invest. We are ready to deliver to those markets. There's some impediments along the way, but we want to now attract that investment while this market is seemingly white hot.
What are the impediments? What are the challenges right now in terms of the industry?
The impediments are mostly contractual and legal. A lot of the processors have exclusive access to milk, so the farmers actually can't increase their production without permission from those processors. So we need to break that. We need to be able to supply dual contracts. We need to be able to supply one fresh milk contract and another into an export market contract. And that's very difficult to balance milk, and there's all sorts of sort of logistical difficulties around that, but it's not impossible. It is doable. The other difficulties are around investment. We've got to attract investment into New South Wales, so we need the New South Wales government to support an active program where they will encourage dairy investment in New South Wales. At the moment, they don't have that program, but we've been talking to the Department of Trade and Investment, and I think they're really keen for it. I think that will become a public position of the New South Wales government over the next year.
I know you're of the opinion that there are massive opportunities in China if we're able to think laterally. Can you underscore or outline to us some of the opportunities you see as being available?
Well, just put it in a big picture sense. Australia consumes per head about 111 litres, I think the number is, per head per year. China consumes about 11 litres per head per year in an economy that's growing and it's sort of advancing. You know, they're getting more and more Western. They want more and more Western diets. And dairy is a big part of what they see as a Western diet. If China went to 12 litres per head per year, so a reasonably strong increase of around 10%, that extra 1 litre is the entire New South Wales dairy production. There is absolutely no way we as a New South Wales dairy industry, or even as Australian dairy industry, can oversupply that Chinese market. At the moment, according to Dairy Australia, China market is growing by about 6 to 7% per year, compounding. So, a 10% growth in China to consume the entire New South Wales production in a mathematics sense is absolutely possible and can happen within 2 years. So there's no limit to what we can do in a market like that, but we've got to supply a product. It's got to be a really good product. It's got to be safe. It's got to be healthy. We've got to be able to provide an assurance about how safe and healthy it is. We need systems to develop to deliver and make sure that it's all done in a quality management system approach. So getting the industry to think like that and to address those markets is really interesting and a big chance for us.